This is what happens when an inheritance tears a family apart, and how one decision turned a funeral into a war. They thought they were gathering to mourn their mother. Instead, they were about to lose her a second time. The restaurant was closed for the day. The smell of cayenne and old fryer oil still clung to the air. Family friends whispered near the bar. At the head table, Attorney Blake opened a thin envelope. Inside it was a final decision. The restaurant, the Victorian house on Cypress Bend, the life insurance policy, all transferred to one name: Pretty Pierre. Her children received $5,000 each.
I thought it was a mistake. I actually looked at the attorney like he'd read the wrong page. My mother built that place for us, for her family, and suddenly, we weren't the family anymore.
He was a waiter. That's how we met him. 3 years later, he owns everything? You tell me that's normal.
Silence did not fall immediately. It crept. Dana's fingers tightened around her phone. Quentin stared across the table. And then the accusation came. He bewitched her. That sentence would follow Pierre long after the funeral ended.
Oh, Louisiana! You don't need horror movies. You got fog, family, and paperwork. Today, we got Gloria Grace, the seafood queen. Pretty Pierre, herbal, gentle, suspicious, by appearance only. And 2 children who thought love came with legal entitlement. Let Nancy walk us through this Bayou inheritance.
Gloria Grace built her seafood restaurant from nothing. After her husband died, she worked double shifts, learned suppliers, negotiated contracts, burned her hands more times than she admitted. By 62, the restaurant was profitable, respected, and stable. Her children grew up inside it.
Miss Gloria didn't trust easy. She watched people a long time before she let them close. If she kept you around, it meant something.
Dana went into accounting. Structured, logical, efficient. Quentin became a mechanic. Practical, quiet, reliable in his own way. They loved their mother. But love, in adulthood, often schedules itself. Pierre arrived on a humid August afternoon. He was hired as a waiter. Soft-spoken, polite, slightly unusual. He burned incense behind the kitchen after closing, kept jars of dried herbs in labeled cloth pouches, and whispered Creole prayers over gumbo when no one watched. To the staff, he was strange. To Gloria, he was attentive.
Soft voice, hard hustle. You go, girl.
3 years into their marriage, Gloria suffered a minor stroke. It wasn't catastrophic. There were no sirens in the night, but it changed her rhythm. Her right hand developed a tremor that made signatures slower. Her steps lost their certainty on the wooden porch. Hospitals frustrated her. The doctors spoke over her, directing their explanations toward her children as though she were no longer fully present. Dana insisted on strict medical compliance. Quentin tracked prescriptions and follow-up visits. They were responsible. They were structured. But Pierre did something different.
When someone feels themselves slipping, the world gets loud. Hospitals, instructions, voices telling them what they can and can't do anymore. I just made it quiet for her. I don't think that's magic.
Pierre sat with her for a long hour on the porch, while the swamp air pressed heavy against the screens. He brewed the herbal teas she remembered from her grandmother's kitchen. He massaged her hands when they stiffened, quietly, without turning it into a procedure. And most of all, he stayed.
Presents louder than promises.
One evening, Gloria slipped near the staircase. It wasn't a dramatic fall, just a missed step. She reached for her phone. She called Dana. It went to voicemail. She tried Quentin next. He was under a truck engine, somewhere in the background. Minutes passed before Pierre found her on the floor. He didn't panic. He lifted her carefully and carried her to the couch. He stayed beside her through the night, listening to the rhythm of her breathing. The following week, Gloria requested a meeting with her attorney. Over the next 2 months, her will was updated. The restaurant transferred entirely to Pierre. The house deed was adjusted. And the life insurance beneficiary changed.
When we found out about the insurance policy, that's when it stopped feeling emotional and started feeling strategic. You don't just change something like that unless someone's in your ear.
The signing took place inside the restaurant office. 2 witnesses were present. One was faithful Felix, the dishwasher who had worked for Gloria for 20 years. Her children did not attend. They were not informed. During her visits, Dana began to notice the incense first. A thin ribbon of smoke curling near the kitchen doorway.
It didn't feel right. My mom wasn't mystical or spiritual like that. She was practical, structured. And suddenly there were candles, incense, herbs everywhere. It just didn't look like her.
Quentin noticed something different. Follow-up hospital appointments were being postponed. Specialists rescheduled and conversations about rehabilitation shortened. To them, the herbal remedies felt like interference. Pierre's quiet rituals felt like manipulation. What they saw was distance. What they feared was influence.
You don't skip rehab after a stroke. You just don't. Recovery isn't optional. So when I heard appointments were getting pushed back, I figured somebody was interfering.
The attorney reviewed the documents carefully. There was no hesitation in his voice when he spoke. Gloria had legal capacity at the time of signing.
I reviewed every document. The execution was proper. Medical capacity was documented. The beneficiary change was processed according to procedure. From a legal standpoint, there was no defect.
The witness signatures were valid and properly recorded.
Miss Gloria called me into the office. She said she needed 2 witnesses. I didn't read the papers. That wasn't my place. She told me where to sign, and I signed.
Dana eventually found something else. A small spiral notebook in Gloria's bedroom drawer. Inside were scattered entries. Dana loves me like a spreadsheet. Quentin loves me in between repairs. Pierre loves me in hours. They visit, but he stays.
I didn't know she felt lonely. I thought we were doing what adults do, giving her space, respecting her independence. I didn't realize it felt like absence.
Busy love, still love, but lonely don't grade on effort.
Dana confronted Pierre in the empty dining room, long after the last condolence had been offered. He did not raise his voice. He did not defend himself with anger, and he did not celebrate what the paperwork had granted him. He listened. When she finished, he answered quietly.
If she had asked me to give it back, I would have.
There was no defiance in his tone, no triumph. He had not sold the restaurant. He had not withdrawn the insurance payout. The name above the door still read Gloria Grace's Seafood Kitchen. Each morning, He unlocked the front entrance at the same hour she once did. He wasn't acting like a man who had won. He was grieving like a man who had stayed.
She didn't need saving. She ran that restaurant longer than I've been alive. She just didn't want to sit alone in the evenings. So I sat with her.
Man wasn't a sorcerer, just punctual and present. If you don't show up while they breathing, don't argue when they remember who did. Like, subscribe, and stay sharp out there.